weren't here, welcome. To those of you who came back, welcome back. So our third speaker for the morning is Mr. Fabian Martens, Senior Medical Advisor at OSH-Med. Can we please give him a round of applause?
Yes, good morning. First of all, thank you very much for the band while you entertained us while we were struggling with techniques. But modern technique is fantastic. If you look actually how many devices we have and they still don't communicate with each other. My topic is importance of medical and occupational safety and health services especially for the oil, gas and green hydrogen industry. For the upcoming industry, we know there's lots of upcoming industry in Namibia, but also actually not only for this industry, it's actually a fact for all industries. And I brought with a story, and I want to share with you a story of clients also who come to us with different problems, and unfortunately sometimes they're coming too late, sometimes they're coming in advance. At one company who came to us, they came also to us through our emergency line, and they called for injury on duty. When we arrived there, one of the employees got the hands stuck in a machine, and actually got a ribbon slinged around his arm and was pulling in on his arm. Luckily, they pressed the emergency button, the emergency stopped in time. But when we arrived there already, the arm was broken, it was actually pulled out of the joint, and this happened quite fast. This is one accident already, which happens at certain industries. Another one just recently happened where also due to a lack of wearing PPE, the incident happened, a helmet was not worn. Meanwhile, a helmet was distributed to the employee, but we know, okay, in Walvis Bay we don't know it so often, but sometimes in Windhoek and Central the weather can get so hot. So he took the hard hat off despite working with equipment items in the height. This fall down and this gentleman got a head injury. And these are just small things where we see in a daily basis injuries happens. And why do they happen? Sometimes staff members are not listening to the employer when they say something. Sometimes they don't listen if the safety officer on site even says something. Or they don't get the needed equipment. That is often what we see at stages when we talk to the people. Meanwhile, to have this system, a proper medical and occupational safety and health system in place, relies on 3 pillars. It's simple, it's 3 pillars. And if this pillar gets followed by the employer and the employee, you will have a great outcome, and I will talk you to that about a bit later also. If you follow these 3 pillars, and that is when clients coming to us, they often come with this problem. Because, how should I say, it's always better sometimes to have an external company telling also the employees, listen, you must wear your hard hat, you must wear your PPE, but also being there as advisor for the employer. Because the Labor Act is a very thick menu which you can read through, and sometimes because it's legal language, not everybody understands it as it is. I mean, if you try to read a law book from book to the end, and it becomes very dry and not so well interesting. But back to the 3 pillars. The first pillar, what every employer should actually follow, is the occupational health part. If you have the occupational health part in this pillar, the occupational health part is actually there to prevent health disease and get early treatment. This checkup should be done before the employment. It should be done once a year during the employment. And then when the employee leaves the company, also an exit examination should be done. For the employer, it gives you a better security because, for example, he works in a loud area with noisy machinery and so on. The employer gives him ear muffins that they are well protected. But now, when the employee leaves, maybe after 2 years, he claims he lost his hearing. The hearing is completely gone. He says he cannot hear anymore. Or he can hear now less, and then he blames the employer. And then it goes in front of labor, and the labor will ask the employer, do you have proof that all health and safety measurements were done? But meanwhile, actually, the employee maybe was listening to his earphones also very loud before, and he came already with damaged ear to the employment. How will you prove it? That is one of the important things for employers also. So the occupational health examination will test the hearing, will test the seeing and other important areas depending on where the employee is working. Further, what is an employer always complaining about? The employer complains about, oh, my employee is sick again. It's the 3rd time now in this month. Meanwhile, early detection can be very important. And at OSH-Med International, we have an occupational health specialist, a doctor who is doing this examination. And what we often see is not only that some people have hearing problems, but the most common thing is what we detect is actually the patient has hypertension, meaning high blood pressure. And this over a long period of time already. But because the employee didn't feel sick or anything like this, here it was detected. Why is hypertension detection so early important? Because hypertension can lead to a stroke and also other diseases. Meaning, important also again for the employer, an early detection will prevent a long-term illness of our employee. But also the lifestyle of our employee with an early detection will improve, and with that also improve of the health, and of that obviously also improve of the workforce. Further, also often we had it in examinations that a forklift driver, it was found out actually he needs glasses. And often we need sometimes glasses, not at the first time, but when we get older, then we need glasses. And just imagine you have now a forklift driver who cannot see very well. So how will he do his job proper? It's a challenge. Other diseases, what we often also take up is heart diseases. where problems are with the heart, cardiac problems. Again, here, an early detection of any health issues will improve the health of the employee, and with that, with the early detection of the employee's health, the workforce becomes better. So that is the occupational health part, which is the first pillar, because it should start from the day one of the employee joining your company to the last day. The next strong pillar is the occupational safety part. The occupational safety part is there for prevention of incidents and accidents. So if a proper occupational health is implemented, it will actually improve the workflow at your company. It will improve the work outcome, because people feel more safer if they know my employer takes care of me. First we had the occupational health examination. Now I know also I'm working in a safe environment. We all want to have a safe environment. So if we put everything in place for them, it is well placed. Important it is, like with every law or every regulation we put in place, it should not be just a book or a paper. It should be also lived. Lived by the employer, lived by the employee. And if we see something, we must tell also the employer or employee, if they don't wear their hard hat, please wear your hard hat. And then if we ask why, we must explain this also to them, that they understand. And if they forget again, the next day, we must inform them again. Please wear your hard hat, please wear your safety shoes. How often or how quickly do we see it? And even if you have a third party coming in, sometimes we have these guys standing at the road saying, I'm a painter. And you let them into your house, you let them to come to your company. And they're coming then with Crocs or with flip-flops, with not proper safety wear. Who do you think is responsible for that? You can see, but he's a locum, he's not my employee. But the moment a subcontractor enters your place, the company where they enter the place is responsible for their health and safety. That means they must have also a document in place where the subcontractor company agrees to wearing or to follow the safety regulations of the main company. And only with that, if we implement this, if we live this, we can actually implement a proper occupational health and safety at the workplace. The last pillar is especially for bigger companies. So not the small companies, not the SMEs and MMEs, but the companies, the mines, the oil and gas, energy, everywhere where you have many employees and also a high hazard, is having medics on site, medical on-site services. The one case I mentioned with a hard hat or where the patient did not wear the helmet, it took for an ambulance to arrive 30 minutes, and which is actually an average time at certain places. And just imagine now Walvis Bay. Walvis Bay has one, sometimes two state ambulances on duty. Then there are two private ambulances who are on duty. So you have 4 ambulances. And now something bigger happens. The nearest help is coming then from Swakopmund. And Swakopmund does not have also more ambulances. Similar also even if you compare it to Windhoek. And in life, doesn't matter if it's for the private services, doesn't matter if it's for the industry, minutes matters. If someone has a sudden cardiac arrest, the first 5 minutes counts. And even if you have the ideal situation that the ambulance is coming ASAP, an ambulance average time is 10 to 15 minutes. And you have only 5 minutes time. If, for example, the industry is outside Walvis Bay, then we're talking about not 15 minutes even, we're talking about a half an hour or even further, depends on where your area is. So there, an on-site medic is vital for your company, because these professions, they have an on-site clinic, they can have an ambulance on site or an emergency vehicle, depending on what the employer asks for. And an early treatment can prevent further damage to the patient. An early treatment can improve the patient's outcome. And we had it last weekend. I can tell you there another story. Last weekend we had actually 2 resuscitations. Both kind of similar scenario. Both were young people. At the first scenario, the bystander started CPR. We arrived and we could save this patient's life. We brought the patient back with a heartbeat to the hospital. The second scenario, also sudden collapse, young person of the age of 34. No CPR was done. We arrived within 12 minutes on scene. But unfortunately already the brain damages happened to this patient were so severe, and all our efforts were unfortunately not done. It shows how important early intervention is. The one scenario, both kind of similar scenarios. The one scenario, early CPR was done. We could restart the heart, we got the patient back. Second scenario, no CPR was done. Unfortunately, this young person passed away. When people come to us, to our first aid course, sent by the employer, because they say, the Labor Act says I need to have one first aider per 50 employees per shift. I send now my employees, they're coming to us for first aid. I actually tell them always, you must be very thankful to your employer, because around about 80% of all emergencies happens at home. So I tell them, be always thankful for your employer that they sent you for something what you can use for your family. So first aid is important. Now imagine at a bigger industry. We have the oil and gas industry, we have the green hydrogen industry, we have the mining industry. Having the staff on site, having a medic on site, who knows how to use I call it always a human jump starter, the defibrillator, who knows how to put up IV, who knows how to give medication, that you can get the patient alive to the hospital. Just imagine to have a team like this on site. Immediate reaction for trauma emergencies, immediate reaction for medical emergencies, immediate reaction for any type of emergencies you have on scene. Do you think how this will improve the morale of the employees? It will improve massively. And if you think about this, the 3 pillars, occupational health, occupational safety, and medical services on site, how it will improve the health, how it will improve the work outcome, and how it will improve the morale. Actually, these 3 pillars will strengthen the happiness and the safety of your work environment. Such environments where this is in place, and proper in place, these environments have a knock-on effect on your company, because it leads to more productivity, to better production and better product outcome, and most important now, that is always an important part and the most important question from the employer, from the company, from the board members. So if you go to educate about implementing these 3 pillars, they will ask you 2 questions. Number 1, how much does it cost me? And number 2, what are the benefits? I just told you the benefits. But the biggest benefit out of everything, of more productivity, better products, at the end, and this is your key number for your employer, it's more profit. Because the employer looks at the money. If you can say, if you improve the morale, if you improve the health of our employees, the profit at the end will improve. Thank you.